Hello, welcome to the Ghost of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 99 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 25 of A Clash of Kings, that's Tyrion 6.
As always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And hopefully we're going to provide you with some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the TV show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some ego-boosting reader mail. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide some additional information that will be particularly handy if you're not reading along. How are you, Mackelly?
I am much better now than I've been before because I'm seeing you in person for the first time.
We are in the same room.
Yeah.
It's gonna make the whole editing thing more of a challenge again, isn't it?
It
We
is.
used to have 2 tracks, but we're gonna have 1 track now.
Yes, but it's worth it.
Yes, it is good to see you.
Yes, it's been since March of 2020.
So, wow, that is a long time.
It is. So it's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
You don't look any older?
No,
or...
well, I didn't do anything. I was in hibernation.
So I know we've got a monster
A
of
monster chapter, yeah. Right.
But I wanted to real quickly tell you of a story that I didn't tell you ahead of time because I'm afraid you might not come over.
Oh, God.
So we have a loose pet in the neighborhood. Now, I mean, that's not that unusual. You see missing cats and missing dogs and posters and things like that all the time. But in this instance, it is a missing African zebra cobra.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen it in the news. It's been all around the news in Raleigh.
I'm aware.
Okay, good. And you still came.
They've caught it,
I feel the
haven't they?
love. They did catch it.
I was
yes,
going to say,
they did.
yeah, I wouldn't have come. I knew it was near here. And
Yes.
my God.
It was found sunning itself on a porch 2 streets over.
Oh, God.
So not only is this zebra cobra incredibly poisonous if it bites you, but it can also spit venom up to 9 feet away.
Get out.
So,
Good Lord.
yeah. So, apparently it's been missing. It went missing in October. So, we're just
No
like,
way.
They were just like, shh, don't tell anybody.
No, really?
Yeah.
It's been missing that whole time?
It's been missing. It weathered out the winter out in the wild. So,
Good God.
yes. The first time they found it on a porch, by the time the animal control got there, it had run away, or not run so much, slithered more to the point. But then if they found it again on that same porch, and they managed to capture it. So,
well, that has honestly, I've had a stressful couple of days, but that's really brought my stress levels back up again. Thank you. I've forgotten how terrified I am of snakes.
Yes.
That's reminded me.
You know, I'm not against snakes. I've always kind of thought snakes were kind of cool, but
Me
not
too.
so much venomous ones.
Right. Theoretically, I have no problem with them at all. I just don't want to meet one.
Yeah, so we've got cottonmouths, or
Right.
copperheads. Sorry, we've got copperheads in our neck of the woods.
Exactly. We have poisonous snakes. We
Yes.
don't need to bring more in.
Right. Turns out the owner is a guy that Ethan knew. He graduated with him. So, anyway.
All right. Well, we do have a mammoth chapter, so let's get down to business. How do we leave Tyrion? Last we saw of Tyrion, he was surveying with some trepidation the amount of wildfire that the Guild of Alchemists were creating for Cersei. He was hearing scurrilous, although true, accusations being made about the royal family by street preachers. He was learning Robb Stark's peace terms from Sir Cleos Frey, and he discovered that Pycelle blabbed his schemes, marrying Myrcella to the Prince of Dawn, to Cersei, but that he believed that she, Cersei, would go along with those schemes. Mackelly, why don't we give him the summary of this one?
Okay. So Tyrion interrupts his sister Cersei in her bedchamber being serenaded by their cousin, the newly knighted Lancel Lannister. By Tyrion's estimation, the boy's grown 3 inches since his knighting. Cersei guesses Tyrion's here to complain about what she's done. Seems she's had the growing number of vocal street prophets arrested and thrown in the dungeons for spouting anti-Lannister sentiment to all who will listen in the streets of King's Landing.
Tyrion was irked by the move, but he's got bigger fish to fry. Once the room's been cleared of all but he and Cersei, he drops the bomb. Lord Stannis has sailed from Dragonstone. The news sends Cersei into a panic, but as she frets, he bursts into laughter. She figures he's drunk or mad, but she just misunderstands. He hasn't sailed against them. He's laid siege to Storm's End, and Renly now rides to meet him.
A now jubilant Cersei pulls Tyrion to his feet and twirls him around and even hugs him. She figures maybe Robert was the smart Baratheon brother, which you could make a case, I guess. Tyrion pours them wine for a toast to their good fortunes, but as he does, he sprinkles a little powder in her cup. The next morning, he's informed that Cersei is ill and can't leave her bedchambers. More like can't leave her privy, he thinks. With Cersei indisposed, he's free to treat with their other knightly cousin in town, Ser Cleos Frey, without her input or interference.
From high atop the Iron Throne, Tyrion greets Ser Cleos. Pycelle explains that the peace terms proposed by Robb Stark are unacceptable, Shark. Tyrion announces to all in attendance, including Sansa, their terms, which will surely be no more acceptable to the Starks than Robb's were to the Lannisters. Cleos says as much. Tyrion thinks but doesn't say they expect them to be. He asks Cleos to divulge to Robb their new host in Lannisport that, along with Tywin's army, will smash Robb's host at Riverrun between them. He also wants Robb to know that he'll have no allies in this war, as the Baratheon brothers fight each other, and Prince Doran Martell of Dorne has agreed to wed his youngest son Trystane to Princess Myrcella.
Tyrion then asks Vylar, the head of the Lannister Guard in King's Landing, to take all 100 of his men and escort Cleos safely to Riverrun. Pycelle protests the removal of all Cersei's guard, but he's overruled. Tyrion thinks that's the end of the day's court session, but Ser Alliser Thorne of the Night's Watch pushes his way to the front of the crowd. He's tired of being ignored and will be heard finally. He explains about the dead brothers they found, who reanimated and killed Jeremy Riker and tried to kill Jeor Mormont. His story is met with chuckles from those in attendance. Unfortunately, the hand he brought as proof has rotted to bones while he's waited unseen.
Tyrion remembers the feeling of dread as he looked north from the top of the wall with Jon Snow, but isn't sure if he's being marked by Thorne and doesn't want to look silly in front of the court by taking this too seriously. He makes a few jokes about killing people more thoroughly on the wall and offers 100 spades. Burying the dead will prevent the problem in the future, and asks Sir Jacelyn Bywater to get the word out that the Night's Watch has food, hopefully ridding the city of some hungry mouths.
Once Tyrion has descended the throne, he is besieged by Littlefinger and Lord Varys. Littlefinger is displeased that he's been lied to, as Myrcella can't very well marry Robert Arryn if she's marrying Trystane Martell. Varys, on the other hand, compliments Tyrion for deftly handling the obstacles placed in front of him. He gives Robb Stark a good faith gesture with Ned's bones, and removes Cersei's protectors in one move, rids the city of hungry mouths, and provides the Night's Watch with needed men, but makes it a joke as to not discredit himself by fearing Snarks and Grumpkins, although neither men believe Cersei will allow him to send away all of her guard.
Tyrion says she will and tasks Varys with making it happen. He's to tell her it's all part of a plan to get Jaime back. Seems Bronn has been scouring King's Landing for a thief, a poisoner, a mummer, and a murderer. They'll blend in with the true Lannister guards and slip off once in Riverrun to work on freeing Jaime. So Cleos leaves King's Landing for Riverrun later that afternoon with the 100 Lannister guards plus 4 incognito and the Stark men he rode in with. Later that night, Tyrion, Shagga, and Timett pay an unannounced visit to Grand Maester Pycelle's chambers.
Once Shagga has kicked and hacked the door down, they find Pycelle in bed with his serving girl, both as naked as can be. The girl is shuttled out, despite the heavy protests of Shagga. Tyrion confronts Pycelle about his spying for Cersei, saying Pycelle sent only one of the letters to Dorne. The other he delivered to Cersei. Pycelle denies, claiming it was Varys who told. But once Shagga's axe is at his throat, Pycelle makes a urine-soaked confession, saying all he's done has been in the name of House Lannister, and he divulges that it was he who told King Aerys to open the gates for Tywin, leading to the sack of King's Landing during Robert's rebellion.
Pycelle denies having anything to do with the death of Jon Arryn as well, but again, more axe work by Shagga, who, shaving him not so gingerly, gets the truth from him. He didn't poison Jon Arryn, but he did send Maester Coleman away to make sure that Jon Arryn didn't recover. He felt that he had to. Jon Arryn knew about the incest, and he could see that Cersei needed him dead, so he made sure Jon Arryn obliged. Tyrion has Pycelle taken to the dungeon's black cells. As he picks up a few more vials from Pycelle's chamber, he thinks on how he'd hoped to trust Pycelle, knowing Littlefinger and Varys are no more trustworthy, just better at hiding their deceit.
Whew. Wow. Okay, I think that's all the time we've got for today. So, yeah, it's a long chapter, and it might be the most content-packed chapter we've dealt with so far.
Certainly, if the length of our notes is anything to go by.
Yes. This might be the longest notes we've had as well. So Tyrion's jumped back into the lead again as far as POV chapters. He and Arya have been pulling neck and neck, and then Tyrion ahead or one or the other. He's now at 6, and Arya's at 5. The next closest, Jon and Bran, are at 3. Yeah. So, this is it's a Tyrion-heavy book so far.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, Tyrion's kind of in many ways, he's the only POV character we've got who's at the fulcrum of the sort of political machinations that are going on. The closest other one is Cat, but now she's kind of bouncing between places, whereas Tyrion's sort of like a fixed point.
He's kind of like Ned in a Game of Thrones.
Right.
The Hand of the King, getting all of the... Because Ned ran away with the chapter count in Game of Thrones as well.
And I guess Arya's up there because she's the one who's got most going on in her life, because she's actively making a journey.
True, yes. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Kat was making a journey. We just skipped over it all because it wasn't very interesting. Arya's journey is interesting,
right? So Lancel's become quite full of himself.
Yes.
Since being knighted, and I was thinking maybe his tourney or war move as a knight could be to just overserve the enemy with wine and take them out that way. That seems to work for him.
Yes, apparently.
I don't know what his sword arm is like, but his wine arm is
pouring arm. Yes. He doesn't need a handy wild boar to be nearby at the same time.
Right. Well, it could be a duo act.
Yeah. So Cersei had the prophets and begging brothers. The begging brothers being this faction of the religion of the Seven,
right?
Who are sort of protesting against the Lannisters. If you remember in the last Tyrion chapter, we heard the prophet saying awful things about everyone, including the High Septon.
Right.
The High Septon. But in particular, it wasn't only anti-Lannister, because in fact he also criticised Stannis. I think he said that Shireen was not Stannis' child, but
he nailed both rumors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of which is true, and one of which is not true. At least has no basis.
The incest part true. Yeah. The Shireen patch-face part not so true. Yeah. But I found it a little bit ironic that Lancel comes to Cersei's defense about the prophets being arrested, and he says they should count themselves lucky. I'd have had their tongues out, which is exactly what she wanted to do originally when the small council talked her out of that.
That's true. And let's be honest, he would have just given them extra wine.
Yes.
So you were asking how it'll sit with the folks in King's Landing that these people are being arrested. I got to say, I don't think anyone would notice. I mean, as street entertainment goes, it's fairly limited.
That's true.
And basically, they're just hungry mouths now off the street. There's a little bit more food to go around.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's accumulation of things.
True.
We've got the hungry; they're being shot in the street by their own king, and now the prophets are being jailed
for preaching against them.
Yeah. So, just feels like it might be going the wrong way a little bit in the whole easing the tensions in the city, which is what Tyrion's trying to do.
Yeah, and truth be told, Cersei and Joffrey don't care. They simply don't care at all for it. Whereas Tyrion recognizes that it's a part of ruling, is to keep the citizens happy.
Yeah. Now, you could make the argument that removing the loud discontent voices could help soothe things by not stirring up trouble, but I think their hunger and the small folks' hunger and general discontent probably is not going to
but I guess anyone I do take that point. Anyone rabble rousing against the throne is dangerous when people are discontent.
Right.
Better that people are just dispersed and discontent.
Yeah.
They're less likely to rebel that way.
Yeah.
But it also has that same effect of, see, there was some truth to this. They silenced the people complaining.
Right. Yes, and that's what Tyrion's argument was to Cersei last time. Yeah. If you react to it, then you give it credence. If you ignore it, then you could pretend it wasn't a thing, even though it was actually true.
Yeah.
But so Cersei made a comment. She said, one, referring to one of the begging brothers, one said the gods were punishing us because Jaime murdered the rightful king. And so, the faith of the Seven is much larger than just this one begging brother. But at least one of the members of the faith believed that the Targaryens were the true rulers, the true kings.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what Aerys was like as king, because, I mean, obviously he was mad and pretty evil, but was that evil mostly confined to other lords, like Ned's father and brother?
Right. Or
was he, like Cersei and Joffrey, callously indifferent to the suffering of the people? Yeah. Because if he actually was good at that bit of it, if he was, someone who actually cared about making sure the harvest got in, then the people might remember him fondly, because there's nothing to remember Robert fondly about. He did nothing for the people.
True. Yeah.
Apart from becoming the father of several of their children.
Yep. Yeah.
And certainly Joffrey and Cersei haven't done anything to build that bridge. So yeah, I mean, maybe Aerys begins to look like a better option than these guys.
Yeah, possibly. Of course, had he been successful, Aerys, with the the wildfire plot of blowing up King's Landing, they probably would have looked upon him a little less kindly.
One of the beauties. Yeah, I mean, compare that to say JFK. Had JFK triggered a global thermonuclear war that killed everyone, he probably wouldn't be remembered as fondly as he is.
Solid point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I wondered also if there is some sort of widespread feelings within the faith that the Targaryens were the rightful rulers and the Baratheons have usurped the throne, that might actually help Dany or any other Targaryen someday in the future if they do try and mount a resurgence in Westeros.
And wasn't that the claim that Illyrio Mopatis made to Viserys? Yes. Didn't he tell Viserys the people want the Targaryens back? And we kind of dismissed it at the time, and Jorah Mormont dismissed it as saying all they care about is, getting through the day. They don't care who sits the Iron Throne.
Yes, a good crop of wheat.
Right.
And their kids not being sick and having food and shelter. And
but that being said, if they go to church and the church is beginning to make noises about, hey, our hardships are caused by the fact we don't have a true king on the throne, that could start to ferment a feeling of pro-Targaryenness. So yeah,
absolutely,
possibly good news for Dany. And she can tell Jorah Mormont to stop his sulking. Actually, they do want me back.
They do care. So Cersei says Tyrion walks in, he's kind of got a smirk on his face, and she says, well, you're pleased with yourself, aren't you? And Tyrion says out loud, why shouldn't I be, or something like that. But he thinks in his head that every day the chain grows longer and longer, and we still don't know what this chain is for.
Yeah. So it's a literal chain, not a metaphorical.
Yes.
Right, yes. But
it was his first thought when thinking of being pleased. So he didn't think of the wildfire pots.
Yeah.
So, this chain must have something going for it.
He didn't think of Myrcella to Dawn. He didn't even think of the thing he was here to report, which was Stannis attacking Renly.
Right.
So, yeah, he places a lot of significance on that chain.
Yes. And, of course, he's also getting time, which is the one thing he said he needs most of all. Yeah. So...
So Cersei is kept the bed that Robert died in. She said it gives her sweet dreams, which that's a very Cersei thing to say.
It is. I hope she at least changed the bedding,
So Tyrion drops the bomb of Stannis sailing from Dragonstone, but to Storm's End, not King's Landing. But he lets Cersei panic before he reveals the punchline of that. It couldn't be better for the Lannisters. This is exactly what they want. The brothers fight each other, leaving the Lannisters time to deal with Robb Stark and then come and support King's Landing, as we've talked about many times. This is perfect. And Tyrion's machinations with Dawn also ensure that they're not getting anything from there.
Right.
We know they're not getting anything from the Vale. It's all going the Lannisters' way right now.
It is, yeah. And it's a shame because the Starks had a chance to get them on the ropes, and the Baratheons, if they would have kept moving, but nope, they got distracted, I guess. No, we haven't heard Stannis' reason yet for laying siege to his home of Storm's End, but I mean, it doesn't come across as great timing for that.
The only thing that makes any sense is that he does that to draw Renly to him, and then they confront one another and make the pact that, well, actually Stannis is the rightful heir. I'm sorry, I'll back down. And now Stannis has got a huge army.
Yes, and that's what Cersei fears. She says, what if they reconcile? And Tyrion says they won't. Yeah. They're too different and also too alike.
Yeah. But here's an idea, just given what we know about sort of laws of the kingdom. Single combat.
Oh.
If I was Stannis, that's what I would do. I think Stannis will beat Renly in a fight.
Yes, you're right. I hadn't thought of that.
Like, okay, we both claim this. I'm in the right, and the gods will prove it when we have single combat.
Yeah, right. Mano y mano.
Yeah.
Brother on brother.
Because Stannis will end up fighting Brienne of Tarth and regret his decision.
That would be a bad idea. That's true, because you can
name a champion.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure who.
Sir Davos.
And I don't know about Sir Davos. I'm not sure he'd be the one that you'd want to send up against Brienne. I'm not sure that Stannis has got anybody you'd want to send up against Brienne.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes.
But still, I mean, that is a way forward for Stannis.
Right. You know, he also could have been, maybe he figured Renly is more prepared to get to King's Landing before me, so I've got to create a diversion against Renly, and thought, well, I'll besiege our home and make him have to ride to Storm's End instead of King's Landing. I don't know.
Yeah. But of course, I mean, you'd like to think that Stannis isn't going to destroy Storm's End or kill his own people.
Right.
So maybe Renly could just keep going to King's Landing, attack King's Landing, and then say, I want my brother here bending the knee.
Yes, right.
Renly is falling into the trap if he is doing what Stannis wants.
Good point. So Cersei and Tyrion discuss the fact that Stannis felt slighted being given Dragonstone versus Storm's End, which we've heard in Davos's chapter in this book that's true.
Yeah.
Stannis did feel slighted, and Tyrion says he felt slighted, and Cersei says it was meant to be a slight.
Right.
And she said it in a way that was like she had insider knowledge, like Robert had explained to her this, or she was there when it happened. Yeah. If so, that's pretty brutal, because he did everything Robert asked him to do.
Yeah. Yeah, you do wonder what underpins that, because clearly that is a slight. There's no way around that. That is a pretty strong slight against you if you're the heir. But didn't Robert say the heir has always been on Dragonstone?
Yes.
That's where the heir.
The Targaryen heirs were always the Prince of Dragonstone.
So maybe she misread it, or maybe I don't know. It's an interesting thing to ponder.
It is, because maybe he could have given him an option. You know, normally in the Targaryen dynasty, the heir is the Prince of Dragonstone. Do you want that, or would you rather have our ancestral home and let him choose? But that's not how that went.
But the other sort of slightly connected thing is that Stannis actually relieved Dragonstone. Dragonstone was the Targaryen outpost, the last Targaryen outpost, and he invaded it and took it. Right. So there is a sort of connection between Stannis and Dragonstone in that respect. You know?
Yes. Of course, he also held Storm's End during the siege of Storm's End.
True.
So
True. You've got to say, you'd rather live in Storm's End than Dragonstone. Just purely off what it's got to offer.
Right. I agree.
So Tyrion slips powder into the wine. Smart timing, because she's in a good mood and she'll trust him.
Which is rare.
Right. Why has he done it? Well, I guess he wants the next day to be Cersei free.
Yeah. It just seems like when he explained to Varys his plan, it's a pretty solid plan.
I see what you mean.
Could have explained it to Cersei while she's in a good mood. Like, listen, I know you're not going to like this, but I've got a great plan that I think is going to work.
The thing is, of course, there are layers to his plan. He also wants to get those 100
Yes, he does.
red cloaks out of King's Landing. So that's the thing. The plan is solid, but it is also anti-Cersei.
Yes.
So it's hard to convince her of it.
Yes, outwardly, it's all just about getting Jaime back. But we know that there's more to it than that, of course. I wondered if maybe he was doing it for some level of revenge, just make her life miserable for a day or so, because of how mean she is to him in general. And of course, the powder that he puts in her wine, we assume is whatever he took from Pycelle's chambers when he gave him the letters to send to Doran Martell. I think that was Tyrion 4-ish or so.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're clearly never going to work together, Tyrion and Cersei, but maybe, I mean, they'd be good as a combination because she is ruthless and he's smart and thinks things through.
Yeah. I wondered this is probably the first time they've ever interacted at this level, just the two of them. Yeah. There's no Tywin, there's no Jaime to get involved. It's just the two of them ruling from the Iron Throne. And I wondered if maybe it could help their relationship if they learn to respect one another, he's pretty smart.
Not take the opportunity of a Thor in the relationship to poison one another.
Right. Momentary thought. Oh, now's a good time.
This little sort of like ray of sunlight, it's not that strong when it ends in a poisoning.
Right. But then we get another cousin here. We have Tyrek Wet Nurse Lannister. And so now we've moved on. Tyrion is now sitting the Iron Throne and getting ready to meet with Ser Cleos Frey, his cousin. But another cousin of his, Tyrek Lannister, is there, and the other squires have dubbed him Tyrek Wet Nurse Lannister because he married little baby Ermesond Hayford, who's like 1 to 2 years oldish or so.
Right.
And back in the last, I think it was Sansa 2, the one where she went and met Sir Dontos Hollard, it was news of the feast for their wedding that caused the riot. Yes, exactly. Now remember, I gave a short background from Sansa 1 about baby Ermesond Hayford. She's the only surviving member of House Hayford, so the Lannisters are wanting to grab that power. They're a Crownlands house, and so there's an open spot there, and they can just fill it with another Lannister.
So, So Cleos Frey comes in and the Lannisters lay down their terms. They want Robb to lay down his sword, swear fealty, return to Winterfell, free Jaime and put the host back under Jaime's command to march against the Baratheons.
Yeah, there's a bit of a problem from Robb's perspective. Not that he's going to accept it anyway, but his mom is with the Baratheons right now. At least last we saw her, so... You know.
Well, I guess Robb's headed north and do with it what you will, But try not to kill my mother while you're down.
Can you put my mom on a ship, please?
But start Bannermen need to send sons and daughters as hostages.
Tyrion says they'll be treated gently and given a high place at court, and I thought, as gently as Sansa?
Who's listening, right?
Yes.
So she must be like, don't do that. Don't agree to that.
She should have snorted when that was said.
Harrion Karstark and Willis Manderley will be exchanged for Willem Lannister, who's Lancel's brother.
And he also has a twin brother, Martin.
Willem has a twin, Martin,
yes,
right.
Yes.
Okay. Lord Serwyn and Donald Locke will be exchanged for Tion Frey.
Or is it Tiam?
It's good.
That's Cleos' younger brother.
Yeah. So they're making a small concession here, a 2-for-1.
But he hit it well. He made a bit of a joke of it that one Lannister is worth 2 Northmen.
Yes.
Which is ironic because that's the exact opposite of what Arya was told.
Right. But Arya, if you remember, recognized later that wasn't true.
Right. Yes.
Ned's bones being returned and all of the Northmen who've been killed in King's Landing will be... Is that right?
Well, that's what Robb wanted.
Oh, but it was only Ned that...
It was only mentioned,
Oh,
Ned.
okay.
They could probably gather up some bones, though. I mean, they can't really...
True.
DNA test it.
Yeah.
Varys points out that that's a good concession because it doesn't really cost them anything, the Lannisters, that is, and it wins a small bit of goodwill with Robb. Yeah. So, that's a good idea.
But of course, given that he's got to reject the whole thing, it doesn't really matter what's...
No, he's either like, I'll take that and that.
Yeah.
I'm going to reject that and that.
Ice the Sword Ice and the girls will be held.
Who's actually just Sansa?
Yes, just Sansa. But again, they're not going to confess to the fact they've lost Arya until they have to.
Yes.
They'll be held until Jaime's freed.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
I wondered if Sansa noticed the mention of Arya. It was mentioned, like, I believe Tyrion's line was something like, they'll be held here. The girls will be held here until Jaime is freed. And I wonder if Sansa was like, girls?
Well, I mean, probably she thinks she's been held separately, but she must wonder when she goes to the throne room and she never sees Arya what they're doing with her. I mean, she probably thinks she's chained up for some reason.
if she knows Arya the way she thinks she knows Arya, yes, she's probably in the black cell somewhere. But actually, last we heard from Sansa about Arya, Sansa figured that Arya was in Winterfell dancing and sewing and playing with Rickon.
Oh, that's right. So actually this is news to her.
Kind of, yeah. She's like, wait.
It's fake news, but it is news to her. Right, yeah. So by comparison, Robb's terms were that the sisters would be traded for Tyrion Frey and Willem Lannister, that Ned's Bone and all of the household guards would be returned.
Bit of a match there.
Yeah.
They could probably make do with that one.
The captive exchange very similar, but not Jaime.
Right.
And the 10 highborn hostages would go in the opposite direction.
Yes. And then the big one, of course, is that the North and the Riverlands will break free of the realm. It's kind of an opposite and equal reaction going on here.
Yes.
Both equally unacceptable to the other side.
Yes, I guess again, this is all Tyrion's hope. He wants this negotiation to last and last, so he's going to start with, this is my ultimate goal. I'm not going to get any of it, but I'm going to lay it out anyway, because that's how this negotiation's got to go.
And Cleos says pretty much, as much as what I just said, they're not going to agree to this. Robb, that is not going to agree to this.
Yeah.
But then Tyrion mentions to Cleos, he says, tell him about our new host that we're raising in Lannisport, and that new host and Tywin's host will meet at Riverrun and crush Robb and his men between them. And we had thought that maybe the Lannisters wanted this to be a surprise and hoped that Robb would be content sitting in Riverrun while this is being sorted out. That would ruin the surprise.
True. I guess there's two thoughts there. One is, if Robb has got any kind of spies, he already knows about it. And the second one is, it's the carrot and the stick. You know, the carrot of all these offers is, we can put an end to this and you get your sisters back. The stick is, if you dawdle over this, there's going to be two armies descending on you like a hammer and an anvil, and you're going to get crushed.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. It's pretty obvious there's no real attempt at peace here. But I was thinking, if either of the Baratheons had made it to King's Landing and had laid siege to it, maybe they would be a little bit more willing to negotiate. But as now they've just got a windfall of time and having to focus on the Baratheons.
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, let's ask for the moon.
Yeah. If Renly had arrived and besieged King's Landing, then we talked about this before, that Tywin would probably have to come south to help lift that siege. And then Robb, what does Robb do with that, though? I mean,
he could either follow down from the north and pin him between Tywin between the Renly's host, or then go over to try to go to Lannisport and Casterly Rock, because there's no Tywin army there.
Or do you follow Tywin to the sort of borders of the Riverlands and then sort of fortify those so Tywin can't come back?
Oh, sure. Yeah, hadn't thought about that.
Tyrion also mentions to Cleos that to tell Robb he won't be getting any help from Dorne, because the Dorne have agreed to marry Myrcella Baratheon to Trystane Martell, sealing that alliance.
Yeah. So what we can glean from that is either his offer was better than Renly's, or he's right and Renly just assumed Dorne would back him and never actually made any overture toward the Martells, or possibly the Martells could be playing the Lannisters. They could be wanting to get Marcella and hold her as a hostage or something.
Right, because we have talked before that there's no love lost between the Martells and the Lannisters.
Very much. But last Tyrion chapter, he did tell Cersei, when Cersei was worried about this exact thing, that Doran Martell is way too honorable to harm Marcella. So, do we also take that to mean he's too honorable to play the Lannisters false? Or, that's a different thing, I guess.
Yeah. But, I mean, everything we ever say about the Martells is all done in vacuum at the moment because we've never met them. So we don't know. We just know the backstories to them.
Like Stannis in A Game of Thrones.
Right, yes. Yes, he was like a ghostly figure hovering over everything. Yeah. So, Tyrion's planning to send all of the Red Cloaks to escort Cleos, get them out of there. Since he arrived in King's Landing, he's been weighing up his forces against Cersei's, and this is going to help tip the balance in his favor.
Yeah, he's felt for a while like he's had the upper hand. Yeah. He's got Bywater and the Gold Cloaks, the Mountain Clansmen, and that sellsword army that Bronn has been gathering. So he's felt fairly confident about that. But yeah, since he got there, he's been doing the pluses and minuses there.
So at this point, Alliser Thorne bursts through the crowd and will be heard. Tyrion says that he had no notion that he'd come to court, which of course we know is not true because Bronn told him and Tyrion arranged for him to be put in a dingy cell.
Then he mentioned Ser Alliser mentions that he only has been sent to speak to the king, not his servants. And Tyrion tells us and tells the court that the king is busy playing with his new crossbow. And then he thinks in his head that it was very easy to get rid of Joffrey for this. All he had to do was show him this ungainly crossbow that shoots 3 bolts out, and there was nothing to do but play with that new crossbow. So it was a shiny object. He couldn't resist it.
So although Tyrion is very careful not to pay too much heed to what Alliser Thorne is saying, he is somewhat discombobulated by it, but he actually manages to give Alliser Thorne partly what he came for, which is more people to man the Night's Watch and some more tools.
You got to assume that Jeor Mormont is out of touch with all the goings on in the realm, because there's no way that any of the Lannisters sitting on the Iron Throne were going to be like, oh, we're going to send you 5,000 armed, trained Lannister men to help you defend the wall in the middle of a war.
Which is, of course, exactly what Jeor Mormont wants. He wants an army.
Yes, but wrong time for that.
Yeah. I mean, he's not that out of touch. I mean, he knew about Ned's beheading and stuff. So
yes. Yeah, although, I mean, he got the best bet that he was going to get with Tyrion sitting the throne that day.
True.
Had it been Joffrey, probably Alliser would have been thrown, or either made to fight to the death against someone, or thrown in a dungeon.
Choice of hand or tongue cut out.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's chop your hand off and see if it wriggles.
Right, something like that.
So Littlefinger's irked that he's been lied to, tells Tyrion to leave him out of his next deception.
Oh, that's rich. That's rich, Littlefinger.
Yes, Tyrion at that point looks pointedly at the dagger on Littlefinger's hilt.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, why is he still carrying this dang dagger around?
Yeah.
What? Is it just to flaunt the fact that he sowed the seeds of the Stark Lannister war? I mean, why is he carrying this evidence around on his body everywhere he goes?
But I guess the only person that sort of pushes the buttons of is Tyrion. Nobody else cares or knows.
True, yes. Of course, he's hand of the king right now, so might not want to rub it in his face every opportunity that you can get. Yeah. But the mention of, I guess one of the reasons that Littlefinger is upset is because it's one less bargaining chip that he has for Lysa Arryn to get her to agree to have the Knights of the Vale join their cause, because that was one of the things he was offering her was Robert Arryn that Marcella would foster at the Eyrie, and then Robert and Marcella would marry, and now that's off the table. But I went back and looked, that's only part of the package that he was going to offer the Vale to enter the war. He was offering justice, peace, and little Robert Arryn being reinstated as Warden of the East.
Yeah. But I also think that Tyrion doesn't expect to get those soldiers from the Vale.
Yeah, he's certainly not. Doesn't seem like he's banking on it.
Right,
he's not playing. It'd be another windfall. If he
got it, but he's not expecting it. So that's why he doesn't need to send Marcella there.
One of the things he was offering was Jon Arryn's true killer, And later in this chapter, we find out that Tyrion has figured out Pycelle's involvement. And it seems that...
Although I don't think he had figured it out. I mean, he just knew that was a possibility because remember right from the start, we knew that Pycelle sent Maester Coleman away so that he could personally attend to Jon Arryn. So, but he hadn't figured anything out until Pycelle admitted to it.
True, although he did suspect that he did vocalize that he suspected that Pycelle poisoned Jon Arryn, and he said, it wasn't me, it was Varys.
Yeah.
And then told the truth. That it was Hugh of the Vale, likely.
Yes. So he points the finger pretty strongly at Hugh of the Vale, who, if you remember, was a squire to Jon Arryn.
Yep.
Who was immediately knighted by somebody royal.
Right. I think Robert did the actual knighting, but who suggested it?
Right.
You know? Because it was done in Jon's memory.
Right. And then promptly killed by Gregor Clegane in the Hand's Tourney.
Right.
Accidentally, of course. Right.
Although the Hound said Gregor's lance goes where Gregor wants his lance to go.
So our suspected murderer is dead, but who sent him? Like you said, he did get quickly knighted, so it's someone with enough influence to perhaps get that guy, reward the guy who did it.
Right, yeah. And Varys told Ned back in Ned 7 of A Game of Thrones that Hugh was a possible suspect because he didn't return with Lysa and the household guard when she went back to the Vale. He stayed in King's Landing.
Right,
So, I mean, it certainly points that way. But also he offers peace because he's got a lot of influence over the mountain clans. And he's armed them, and they are now much more organized in attacking the Vale folk.
Right. So, yes. So you're not saying that that's part of the peace, but the peace would be they're a much bigger danger to you now, but we can keep them at bay.
Yes, right, we can pull them back. Right. But of course he did promise them the Vale of Arryn, which would be go against saying, no, I need you to scale back on your attacks on the Vale of Arryn.
Yes. Not for the first time Tyrion's playing both sides.
Right, yes. But he also offers Robert Arryn to be Warden of the East, and of course Lysa already calls him Warden of the East, but it's officially Jaime, which Robert Baratheon felt Robert Arryn was too young and sickly to be Warden of the East. We learned that in an early Ned chapter of Game of Thrones.
So Varys has to get Cersei to agree to the Red Cloaks being escorts for Cleos Frey. I would imagine he'll succeed while she's on the toilet. Bronn's been searching for a thief, a poisoner, a mummer or several mummers?
A mummer,
and a murderer, which definitely sounds like the sort of start of a joke.
It does, yes.
A thief, a poisoner, a mummer, and a murderer.
Walk into a pub.
Exactly.
I don't recall any mention of this specific group of people in previous chapters. We've heard of Bronn recruiting the sellsword army, right? But not this. So I think this is news to us.
I wonder if that's partly the sellsword army was a front for this, because you can't imagine they're getting that many useful sellswords in King's Landing at the moment because it's just lots of hungry people.
True. Yeah.
So maybe that was just a front for finding these guys.
Could be. Yeah.
Although, would they have recognised the ad in the paper? Sellswords required. Well, I'm a mummer.
I can play a sellsword on TV. Yeah, it's pretty obvious that he's using the peace offer for more than just peace negotiations.
Oh yeah,
it's already being used as a distraction and stall tactic, but now he means to use it to cause chaos in River Run.
I think you can put almost any nouns into the sentence. Tyrion is using X for more than just Y.
Right. That's good way to put it. Yeah. You'd think that those 4 men or women, we don't know who they are, but could be up to more than just setting Jaime free. I mean, they could poison Robb or Edmure, or they could poison large amounts of soldiers if they poison the garrison food. So. Yeah. It's quite the violation of the rules of an negotiating envoy that he's doing here.
So Cleos leaves with the 100 red cloaks and the 4 unknown
extras.
Extras, yes, good choice. And remember, he meets Robb's escorts are also there. Robb Stark's escorts are also there to take Cleos back. They weren't allowed into the city, so Cleos was the only one who came into the throne room. His escorts were kept outside.
Yes, because Tyrion didn't want them to see the state of King's Landing and report it back.
Right.
But so Cleos meets them all at the King's Gate,
Right.
which I found odd because that's the gate right next to the Blackwater Rush that goes out to the tourney grounds. They came in on the Gate of the Gods, which is the gate that goes out the King's Road.
Which seems like the right one.
Right, so they'd have to do like an end around to go right back north again. So I'm not quite sure why they would be meeting at the King's Gate.
So does the King's Gate bring you straight into the castle, into the keep, or do you still have to come through the city?
You still have to come through the city, but not as much through the heart of the city as you would through the Gate of the Gods. I just thought it odd. Why are you sending it out the wrong way?
Cut and paste this into the pedantry.
Okay.
So Tyrion then goes off to find Pycelle. He finds her naked with a saving girl. Saving girl?
She didn't save him, that's for sure.
He finds Pycelle naked with his serving girl, which violates one of the Maester's vows.
Yes, Crescent mentioned that in the prologue.
The accusation is that when Tyrion gave him 2 notes to send to the Martells to make sure the message got there, he only sent one and gave the other one to Cersei.
Yeah, and I went back and checked. In chapter 17, he only sees one raven fly away. So I wonder if he suspected at that point.
Right.
It didn't go through his mind because we were getting his internal dialogue, but he only saw one raven fly away.
I guess it's possible the ravens went like in different directions and you just
Right.
didn't see it, but yes, I would have been suspicious immediately.
I guess it doesn't do a whole lot of good if you want to make sure, both letters, one of the 2 letters get there successfully if you like tie them together and the 2 ravens side by
I
side.
ain't wasting 2 ravens. This will balance him up nicely.
Yeah. But, we were talking about Pycelle being a fantastic actor, that he was so stressed about not knowing what was in the letter. And we were guessing that maybe he had broken the seal and read the letter. But he might have been legitimately unnerved because he didn't know what was in the letter because he hadn't opened it. He gave it to Cersei unopened.
As usual, Pycelle blurts out that it was Varys. pretty much doesn't matter what's going on. It was Varys sleeping with the serving girl.
Yeah. I mean, he's made it pretty clear he distrusts Varys and doesn't like him. But this is some next level stuff here. He's openly lying about his involvement and blaming Varys for something he knows Varys didn't do. So back in Ned 5 of Game of Thrones, when Ned met with Pycelle, he hinted at Varys' involvement in the poisoning of Jon Arryn. He said, poison is the preferred weapon of women, cravens, and eunuchs. And then he said, oh, by the way, did you know that Varys is from Lys? Because he said, this isn't the free cities of Essos. This is Westeros. We don't use poison around here. Oh, did you know that Varys is from Essos?
and this poison, I think, was the tears of Liz.
Yeah.
And you're getting what I'm saying. But now it seems we have a fairly good picture that it was Sir Hugh that did it. So where did Sir Hugh get it from, of course?
Right.
That's the question.
Yes.
Tyrion tells Shagga to cut off Pycelle's manhood and feed it to the goats, which that's really just singing Shagga's song. He wants to do that pretty much to everyone he meets.
He's probably quite disappointed. He points out there are no ghosts, half-man. Must be. He's like, no, finally. I was so close. But Shagga grabs Pycelle by the beard with it in one hand and swings his axe in the other hand, and that causes Pycelle to lose control of his bladder, and he sprays urine everywhere. He's naked, so there's not a lot to stop it,
yes.
Right? And then Timett says, Timett had seen the serving girl out, and I guess he came back in because he says he'll tell the truth soon. I can smell the stink of his fear, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's urine.
Yeah, which is often the smell associated with fear. Yeah. So Pycelle, pleads his case as being a loyal Lannister, that he told Aerys to open the gates to Tywin. That Rhaegar, after Rhaegar had died and the war was lost, he hoped that Tywin would become king. If you remember, the Lannisters had joined the war late enough to know which side to join it on.
Right, yes. And I wonder if they had joined earlier, if Tywin would have been in better position to sit the Iron Throne instead of Robert. we know Robert had the better hereditary claim, but if the rest of the realm felt that the Lannisters weren't as invested as they were, might they have backed a more seasoned, proven leader? Because the realm really thrived under Tywin's leadership as Hand of the King under Aerys.
There's an interesting what if. I mean, I think Tywin actually would be a pretty good king.
Yeah.
I mean, hard and mean-spirited, but organized and not mad like Aerys.
Right. Yeah. And not lazy and lecherous.
Like Robert.
Yeah.
And I think more calculating than Cersei,
Yes.
So
do we need to bring up Joffrey? And not Joffrey.
Not Joffrey, yes.
One reason I was thinking that maybe the Lannisters held out of the war for as long as they did is because Jaime was a member of the Kingsguard, and basically that makes him a captive of Mad King Aerys.
Very true.
So I don't know if that gets mentioned very often, that correlation there.
But I do wonder if, it's like joining the Night's Watch. You've disowned your family ties.
Right.
That being said, the family ties were well known to everybody.
Yes.
So you could still use it as against the Lannisters.
Yes, Aerys definitely knew who Jaime's dad was. So if they had joined the war, it's very possible he could have tortured and or killed.
So Tyrion points out the number of betrayals that Pycelle is actually listing. Basically, he betrayed Aerys, he's betrayed Ned, he's betrayed Tyrion, he's betrayed Robert.
Jon Arryn.
And Jon Arryn as well, yeah.
Basically everyone he served aside from Tywin. A quick bit of background about Pycelle and Tywin is that Pycelle is quite a big fan of Tywin. They served together on Aerys' small council, and apparently they worked really closely together. And that and Pycelle would send letters to the Citadel frequently praising Tywin. So he's a Tywin fanboy.
Yeah. Well.
But I was kind of thinking about the difference between Cresson and Pycelle. They both killed somebody basically on behalf of someone they admired. They just kind of did it in very different ways. Cresson sacrificed himself to try and kill Melisandre and save the man that he served.
Right.
Whereas, Pycelle was kind of a coward who sneakily chose to kill Jon Arryn, and then when he got caught, blamed Varys.
Right.
It was him.
and he did that not to a certain extent, he did it to save the people he served, and that he was trying to save Cersei because he thought Cersei was the poisoner.
Yes, right. Yeah, he definitely has the Lannisters back, which is why I'm not entirely on board with Tyrion's ideas here, because I think I think Pycelle is actually loyal to the Lannister family, which is rare in the small council.
That's true.
We know Varys and Littlefinger aren't. Pycelle, he's got a lot of flaws. If a new power moves in, he might very well migrate to that power if given the chance. But at the moment, he is fiercely loyal to the Lannisters.
The one thing I will say is that a lot of what Tyrion is trying to do locally is to compete with Cersei.
Yes.
And that's why he has to get rid of Pycelle, because Pycelle is particularly loyal to Cersei.
Yeah. I wonder, though, if at this moment he could have switched him.
Right.
Instead of throw him in a black cell, say, well, now you're spying for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which actually, when we get to the comparison with the TV show, he actually does that in this episode, but with a different character.
Okay. Yeah, real quick, I was doing a little conspiracy thinking here. And so Pycelle has served under Aegon V and Jaehaerys before Aerys and Robert, and now Joffrey. And both Aegon V and Jaehaerys II died mysteriously. And I wondered if there might have been a Citadel plot to end the Targaryen incestuous dynasty. Now, I did a little searching, and there's people talking about this on the internet, so it's not like it's entirely my idea. But Aegon V, Egg, he died in a mysterious fire at Summerhall. We don't know all the details about that. But Jaehaerys died of sudden shortness of breath, and he was sickly a lot through his life, but who was he under the care of? But Grand Maester Pycelle. So I just wonder, maybe he's had more effect on the well-being of previous kings or not.
Yeah. Do you think Pycelle took a big guess or extrapolation to allow Jon Arryn to die just because he thought Cersei might be the poisoner?
Yes.
But I don't think he necessarily thought that. He just thought it would benefit Cersei if Jon Arryn did not get better.
Yes, his words to Tyrion were something like, she couldn't say it because Varys was listening, but I could tell she needed Jon Arryn to die.
Right.
Yes, she could have just had indigestion,
So Pycelle says that Jon Arryn knew about the incest, which is interesting because I think earlier we've talked about what Pycelle knew.
Right.
And there was a time when we were arguing that Pycelle maybe didn't know about the incest and literally believed Joffrey's parentage was Robert and Cersei.
And he did some things to back that up.
Right.
Like, why on Westeros, I say why on Earth, but I get why would he tell Ned about the seed is strong thing that Jon Arryn was saying before he died? And why would he tell him about the hereditary book that Jon Arryn was reading before he died?
Right. Unless he was actually laying a trap for Ned.
Oh, maybe. I hadn't thought about that.
I mean,
he would have to assume, though, that Ned would be too honorable to act on Cersei and the kids without giving them a chance to get out of town,
Or maybe he was just comparing. I wonder if this guy's as smart as the last guy. Throw him the same crumbs. See what comes back.
Now, likely...
He is. I better kill him too.
He's just as smart. Likely Littlefinger was going to keep steering Ned to the truth regardless. But it seems odd that Pycelle would offer up that info freely.
Yeah.
And then Pycelle mentions the plan that Renly had to replace Cersei with Marjorie Tyrell. And if Pycelle knew, then Cersei had to have known.
Yes.
So I wonder if maybe that was more incentive for killing Robert when they put that plan into action, because they're like, well, this is going to happen sooner rather than later. We got to take him out.
I thought you were saying that was going to be the reason for Cersei Renly to not get along, but you're actually thinking this could actually happen. Like Cersei could be set aside in favor of Marjorie, and
we need to get Robert dead quickly.
Just one last thing. I think Pycelle to the Night's Watch is Tyrion's next step.
Yes,
they needed a young maester.
Yes, Aemon's got him by like 20 years.
Exactly.
So that's quite the upgrade in age here. Good idea. Yeah.
All right, background. Thank God we got through that. On to episode 99, part 2.
Right. So did you know that sitting the Iron Throne in place of the king is an honor bestowed only upon the king's hand?
I'm not sure the TV show stuck to that.
Really?
I believe I remember seeing Cersei sitting on the throne.
The honor does not extend to a regent.
Maybe I'm wrong.
There are only a handful of examples where someone else other than the king or the hand of the king have sat the throne. 2 were Visenya and Rhaenys Targaryen, of course. They were the sister wives to Aegon the Conqueror, and they basically were like co-rulers along with Aegon. And a 3rd was Rhaenyra Targaryen during the Dance of the Dragons, when she sat the throne as queen for about half a year or so, until she fled the city during a riot. Another was a boy named Trystane Truefire. Now you might think, oh, well, that name sounds familiar. Simon's shaking his head, so clearly not. He got a quick mention in the background of Tyrion 2 of A Clash of Kings when we were talking about Daemon Targaryen as the commander of the Goldcloaks. We have mentioned that a hedge knight named Sir Perkin the Flea had a squire named Trystane. And during the chaos of the riot after Rhaenyra fled, Sir Perkin raised his squire up as King Trystane Truefire. Yet when Aegon II took over as king, Sir Perkin still managed to be promoted to commander of the Goldcloaks rather than lose his head. And you had questioned, how did he manage that one?
Right.
Well, here are the details behind that story. The aftermath of the riot created a short-lived era known as the Moon of the Three Kings, when 2 boys and a man, which sounds a bit like a 90s R&B group.
Yeah.
Ruled King's Landing from various locations within the city. Sir Perkin claimed Trystane was actually the natural-born son of King Viserys I and began knighting any man who backed Trystane, and he created an army of hundreds known as the Gutter Knights. When Rhaenyra fled, Sir Perkin and his men seized the Red Keep, putting Trystane Truefire on the Iron Throne. Trystane began to issue royal decrees such as repealing taxes and allowing small folk to take rabbits and hares and deer and such things from the Kingswood, although he also divided the coin in the royal treasury among his followers. So some good, some bad. He's young. Sir Perkin rallied the remainder of the Goldcloaks, and took control of 4 of the 7 gates and more than half of the towers on the city wall. Trystane then sent Master of Whisperers at the time, Larys Strong, to parley with Grand Maester Orwyle and Dowager Queen Alicent. The group made a deal that all will be pardoned except for Trystane. And by the time the armies of Aegon II reached the Red Keep, Trystane's men had already arrested him.
Mm-hmm.
Trystane was defiant until he reached the throne room and found Sir Perkin standing beside the king. Oops. After that, he accepted his fate, asking only that he be knighted before his death, and he became Sir Trystane Fire for a few minutes before losing his head.
I will say, actually, that doesn't really count, because he was king. When he sat on the Iron Throne. I mean, yes, it sounds like he's just a bloke sitting on the Iron Throne, but he was pretending to be king, at least.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah.
The next one you're going to mention is the one I thought of when you started
Oh,
this.
yes. I was going to say, we all know that, of course, Ned found Jaime sitting the Iron Throne when he arrived at King's Land... when he arrived at the Red Keep after the sack of King's Landing during Robert's Rebellion, but Ned got Jaime's butt out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Now, just as an FYI, it's possible that Trystane and Sir Perkin, the Flea, could be homages to Perkin Warbeck, who claimed to be Richard Shrewsbury, second son of King Edward IV of England.
So you have just considerable digression there.
Thought I'd throw that in there while I was on it.
Right. Comparison with a TV show, it's slightly complicated because a lot of this got chopped and changed and dropped into various points of the TV show.
I'm guessing this is going to be an issue for you.
More and more, especially the King's Landing stuff. Like, for instance, all of the stuff in this part of the TV show predates Tyrion's visit to the Guild of Alchemists.
Oh.
Because there's a key element here before he gets to the Guild of Alchemists, which I will explain if you
all
give
right,
me a chance.
Let's hear it.
Stannis does not besiege Storm's End in the show.
Oh,
Instead, he comes to speak with Renly. He basically, he lands on the mainland and just marches.
Treats with him.
And basically they talk to each other. So Alton Lannister, who replaces Cleos Frey, he's a cousin who sent with Robb's terms, delivers the Stark's terms to the small council, not to the throne room.
Oh, all right.
Cersei rips them up and he's sent straight back. What those counter terms he sent straight back with is not made clear. So that prevents Sansa from hearing the revelations about Arya.
Right.
Tyrion doesn't find Lancel in Cersei's chamber. Rather, he infers that something is going on when Lancel delivers a command to free Pycelle from Cersei to Tyrion in the middle of the night.
Oh.
Lancel is initially haughty, as Lancel is wont to be, but breaks down as Tyrion quizzes him and wonders how the king would react to Lancel sleeping with the king's own mother. Lancel crumbles and agrees to work solely for Tyrion henceforth.
That's the...
And that is how he finds out about the wildfire.
Okay.
The scene with Pycelle being arrested is captured very similarly, including the shaving of the beard. And Tyrion's treading the line between believing what's north of the wall and maintaining face is also in the scene in the small council when Alton Lannister comes by. Basically, a raven has arrived from the north, from the wall, not
Ser
Alliser, just a raven. And when he reads it out, the rest of the small council all snort derision.
Right.
But Tyrion looks a little bit afraid.
Okay.
But that's it. He doesn't send any troops or anything like that.
Okay.
And that's it. Pedantry. So I thought that Tyrion said that Sir Cleos wasn't to enter the city. Now you've said, no. If you read back, it's Cleos, it's the people accompanying Cleos can't see the city.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if Cleos sees it. But I maintain that this is still slightly wrong, that you could have had this at the gate. You didn't have to bring Cleos into the city, because Cleos must have befriended those guys by now, even though they're enemies. He's traveled with them for a long time. Be pretty, over the 20-30 day travel back to Riverrun, if one of them says, "How was King's Landing?" They're like, "Ooh, man, didn't look good in there."
It's a mess.
Yeah, exactly. So I still think they should have done that on the outside. They've gone to that trouble. Don't let any of them in.
I see your point. Being that he's a Lannister, I guess they figured they could trust him.
Right, but it's
you think he could slip?
Trust him to understand that he shouldn't say it. That's the thing.
Right.
Sure, bring him in as long as you say, do not tell anyone about the starvation that you're seeing all around you.
What happens in King's Landing stays in King's Landing.
Quite.
Yes, I can see that.
Did you have some?
I did. So I'm going to read you a quick line here. So this is from Ser Alliser. He says, "They were dead the first time, pale and cold with black hands and feet. I brought Jared's hand, torn from his corpse by the bastard's wolf." I don't know who this Jared fella is.
Oh, it's a mistake.
I do not know.
It's a mistake.
Now, we know it was Jaffer Flowers' hand that Ghost brought Jon after he took the black, because we discovered it when we found the bodies. Now, a wiki of Ice and Fire has conflicting info on this. The chapter summary says it was Jaffer's hand, but Other's bio says it was Other's hand. But Jeor Mormont specifically says it was Jaffer's hand in Jon 8, because Other lost his whole arm, and Ghost actually crunched his hand, the hand on that arm, in his teeth.
All right.
So it wasn't likely that hand. Now, I took this, because I was wondering, am I missing something here, or is this wrong? So I went to the formidable brainpower of our Discord server members, and they and I both did some internet searching and couldn't find any reference to this at all. So it might be out there, we just didn't find it. But
Oh, interesting.
I have two theories.
Okay.
One,
you have two hands.
Yes, one theory on each hand. One is that on the voyage from Eastwatch by the Sea, Alliser Thorne wanted to do that recreation of the I'm the King of the World thing from Titanic. And so he got another sailor named Jared, because, the Jack stands behind her. Yeah. And so he went, I'm the king of the... And Jared's hand hit to the hand that he had in the jar, and it went, blink, blunk, into the water. Right. And he was like, hand for a hand, my man. So this is how he got Jared's hand. Right. It's not crawling or anything, but at least it's a hand.
And it's decaying terribly.
Yes. That was my one thought. My other thought was that, this is a Tyrion POV, so maybe Tyrion just misheard him. He doesn't know necessarily.
Right.
He might have met Jaffer Flowers, but he might be wondering, who is this Jared fella? Yeah. I never met Jared. Anyway.
Maybe Alliser Thorne just calls everyone north of the wall. Everyone in the Night's Watch, Jared.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe someone out there knows who Jared is. If so, please let us know, because I can't figure it out.
All right, so news and notes.
This was cool. This was so cool.
This is definitely my favorite moment in all of our 100 episodes. Was our Discord server peeps.
Yeah, our members
clubbed together and bought us a cameo for Ben Crompton, who plays Dolorous Ed in the TV show, and it was really nice.
Oh, it was so great.
It was just, he congratulated on us getting to 100 episodes, which was nice to get that just before we hadn't recorded episode 99. Right. So fingers crossed he's not wrong. Fingers crossed he hasn't cursed it. And it was really fun, and I've shown it to everyone I can think of, and I think me and Ben are going to be friends, to be honest.
Right.
Because we're from like 10 miles away from each other.
Oh, okay.
And he's 4 years younger than me. So we're practically brothers.
This is
brothers of the Night's Watch.
Right. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship here.
So we'll get him on.
And yes, let's work on that. Yeah. And the video is out on all of our social media accounts, except for Instagram. I couldn't figure out how to post it on Instagram, but it's on our Facebook page, our Twitter account, and on our Discord server. So go check it out. It is worth it. It's really cool.
And thank you to everyone for doing that for us. It was really nice. It was silly, and you didn't need to do it, and you don't waste your money on us, but thank you. It was terrific. We were so excited.
What he said. Exactly. Yes. Thank you so much.
We got a review today?
We do.
Your turn.
This is from Lipids99, and it's from Apple Podcasts, and it just says, the subject is fun! ! Fun. Yeah. Great podcast if you want an in-depth take on Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. These guys are amusing to listen to. So.
Well, short and to the point, but yes, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Lipids99.
Yes, thank you. I picked a short one because I knew it was going to be a long one.
Just as an aside, I like the name Lipids99. Lipids are chemical molecules that I have a lot of interest in. So
sure,
yes. Bravo.
Maybe that's why they chose that.
Mm-hmm. All right, conclusions. Cersei's arrested the preachers in the streets. That's going to cause some blowback within King's Landing.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Arresting members of the faith has a tendency to not go great at times.
Tyrion's counter demands are as unacceptable as expected. And so there's no real hope for peace here.
Yeah, he had planned on not giving Robb something acceptable in the first place, but I'm guessing the Baratheon brothers' conflict gave him an added boost of confidence to hold strong to not giving Robb any useful concessions here.
Yeah. He did a good job of navigating the demands to not look weak or silly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, make some reasonable concessions.
Yeah, the Bones, the Lannisters 2-for-1 deal, and sending sending some men to the Night's Watch. That's all good stuff.
The Martells have offered the proposal of marriage for Myrcella and Trystane Martell. Not Trystane, Truefire.
Right, yes. It's odd that 2 Trystanes came up in this chapter. Well,
Trystane Truefire did not come up in this chapter. You
brought him up in this episode, I should say.
So that means Myrcella's going to be shipped off to Dorne, right? That was the plan.
It sure seems like it. Yeah, she's going to be fostered there.
Yeah.
And, I would consider, we haven't, you mentioned earlier, the Martells are just ghostly figures right now, but I would have to think that that's a win for Myrcella, as it's got to be better than life in the Eyrie with the Addams family.
So Alliser Thorne's not much of a diplomat. We could have told you that before he arrived. He gets rankled by Tyrion's jest. He did get some men, not the 10,000 strong army he would have hoped for, but 100 starving gutter rats.
Give them some food, maybe they'll turn into a fighting shape in no time. Now, I wondered if Tyrion hadn't shunned him and he'd gotten to see the hand crawling around. I don't know what he could have done more. He doesn't have the manpower to spare much more than that. Even if he was like, "Oh, I totally believe this."
Yeah, true.
I'm not sure what more he could have done.
You could send the 100 red cloaks, maybe.
Right. After you've been
to the river run, keep
right, keep hoofing it. But I was thinking about the people that they might get from King's Landing. And the vow is going to make it a bit restrictive because they're not going to get many husbands or fathers because they're not going to leave their family with no help from them. And there's no pay. You might think, well, they could go and send money back to King's Landing, but they can't because there's no pay. So that's not an option. So, but I'm sure there's plenty of people of fighting age, boys and men.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's like 500,000, maybe 250,000 of them are men, maybe 50,000 of them are men of unmarried and fighting age.
Right.
So
yeah, and he's hatching some kind of Trojan horse plan to free Jaime with the special force who he found in a pub,
right?
Which is a group for precision extraction of prisoners, I assume.
Yes, yes. And again, we don't see any interest in peace talks. So he's violating the agreement of a peace envoy by trying to go in there and cause chaos.
But then again, you could argue that the Starks were going to go, "Oh, man, it's terrible in King's Landing. They're all starving." And that would be also spying,
It's a good point you make, yes. And Pycelle, we didn't really talk about Pycelle as a character. He's definitely a creep. He's dishonest. He's a liar, a backstabber, an ass kiss.
Oath breaker.
Yes. But he's definitely loyal to the Lannisters.
Yeah.
All accounts, everything he's done is pointed to, all I did was for House Lannister, which is what he says twice in this chapter.
And like you say, if you look back on the history of other things, it predates even the Lannisters being in this kind of position of power. It seems to be him opening the gates or convincing Aerys to open the gates to the Lannisters is a big move.
Right.
Basically it's a betrayal of the king right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you got to imagine that Pycelle's feeling pretty unappreciated at the moment.
Right.
All I've done for you.
The Lannisters arrest me for spying for the Lannisters.
Right. I was wondering, though, why couldn't Tywin have clued Tyrion in to Pycelle being so pro-Lannister?
And again, I think a lot of this is sort of localized, though. Tyrion would trust Pycelle to look after the Lannisters' interest, but he does not want anyone looking after Cersei's interest because that's going to work against his interest, and he thinks his interests are in the best interest of the Lannisters generally.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thanks for sticking with us through all this. As always, you can reach us at ghost.harrenhall@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at @ghostharrenhall. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord.
And if you would please go out and leave us a 5-star rate and or a glowing review, we certainly would appreciate that. The best places to do that are Apple Podcasts and podchaser.com. So if you wouldn't mind going out there, leaving a review, we might read it on a future episode.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.